Join us for an interview with director Natasha Kermani.
Really enjoyed The Dreadful.
Thank you.
I love it. You can really tell what Sophie Turner's character is going through, the emotions, the heartbreak, the confusion, not knowing what to do. Where did all that come from?
Yeah, so I think for me, I just really loved the relationship between these two women, and I felt like it wasn't something that we see a whole lot, especially an older woman and a younger woman who aren't biological mother and daughter. Just these two women, just by circumstance and like the craziness of the universe, have sort of been thrust into this codependent relationship. And so for me, it was really like figuring out what both of these women needed and realizing like, oh, the younger woman needs to be apart, independent. She needs to explore her own desires and her own path. But the older woman is afraid of being alone and does not want to be left behind. And so, how does the tension between those two desires sort of play out? So, for me, for Anne, it was really Sophie plays this character so well because you could just play her as a blank slate where she's just sort of receiving information and being pushed this way and that way by all the people around her. But I think Sophie came to the role with this sort of inner strength and curiosity that I think you really feel from the very first frame that you see her. So I'm so happy that she brought that because otherwise I think it'd be a dull movie.
Well, I mean, just, the fact that Sophie Turner and Kit Harington are back together, is
Mhm.
enough to draw a crowd. What was that like? What was that situation like while
It was
filming?
really beautiful, actually. It was really lovely. It was the feeling of two old friends kind of coming back together after a long time. Which, of course, I was a fan of Game of Thrones like everybody else. And so, the first few moments of meeting them, you're like, oh, it's Jon Snow. But within, a few minutes, Kit and Sophie are just so charismatic and unique as people that we leave Jon and Sansa far behind. And they are just so much more interesting as the people that they are and the lives that they've lived since Game of Thrones. And so I think all of that sort of that sweetness, that tenderness that they feel for each other, I think you can feel in the movie. And for me, it was very exciting to sort of be able to capture that.
Right, right. And, I have to say, um, Miss Harden really captured that insanity, would be a good word. She was very scary.
Good.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want to mess with her. But
Hmm.
I love the relationship between her and Sophie Turner's character and that desperation to do anything to survive.
Yes.
Because many women feel that in some ways throughout their life every day.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And part of choosing that time period was also to just really illustrate that in even more stark terms. Of course, we feel that today living in our lives now, but it was fun to sort of place that relationship and that character into this very sort of brutal time, just to like really paint it in bold colors. But yeah, Marcia's awesome. She's so lovely, but so determined and focused on the work. And she just really jumped headfirst into this like kind of lunatic role.
Good word. And I have to say, I absolutely loved the twist towards the end. I don't want to spoil anything, but that was great. That was a
Good.
great choice.
I'm glad that worked for you. No
It
spoilers.
really, I mean, it drove home that need to survive and just, the pain of losing someone.
Hmm. Yeah, I've always loved the monkey's paw brand of horror. That sort of, it's not necessarily like some demonic entity, but rather our own actions that lead to our own the consequences that are visited upon us. And so that was really, for me, I wanted to close that loop. And it also felt for me very in keeping with like folk tales that I loved that really creeped me out a lot as a kid. Like I remember I went to see like a regional theater play of Monkey's Paw where a mother's son is killed in a workplace accident in a really gory way, and she wishes that her son would come back to her. And of course, that night he comes back, but he comes back as his shredded self, and the play sort of had this silhouette of this shredded man at her door, and it just was so seared into my brain forever and ever and ever. So I love that kind of that cyclical folkloric horror. To me always feels a little bit more complete than an idea of just a slasher randomly selecting someone.
Right. Well, I think it was fantastic. I love the darkness in it and the desperation. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kelly. Have a good day.
Watch The Dreadful in theaters, on demand, or on digital beginning February 20th. Visit horrorfuel.com for more movie news, interviews, and more.